A major ultimatum from President Trump and the possibility of a ceasefire with Iran in limbo. And talent, along with bravery. President Trump detailing today's daring mission to rescue our American pilot in a remote part of Iran, fighting for his life. 155 aircrafts used to safely get him home. We have NewsNation team coverage. Hannah Brandt live at the White House. Jessica Cartalia live in Doha for us. We will go to our nation's capital first. Hannah Brandt is at the White House. Hannah, good to see you. That was a wide-ranging interview. The president was at the podium for over an hour. Break down what he said.
Hannah, it certainly was. I mean, the president started by detailing that daring and dramatic rescue mission of 2 United States airmen that we saw over the weekend, really going through a play-by-play of how it all unfolded and the success of that mission front and center, something we heard the president emphasize there from the podium as he spoke for, as you said, over an hour. But the bulk of the questions really were about what comes next with Iran, because right after that rescue mission was successfully completed, we saw the president really threatening Iran in very certain terms, setting that 8 p.m. deadline on Tuesday. We heard him say that several times throughout that press conference, that is the deadline Iran needs to meet, and they need to make a deal by that time, or he says U.S. forces will be going after Iranian infrastructure, and he says he's just not taking anything off the table when it comes to what he's willing to hit, even when he was pressed about whether or not striking civilian infrastructure would constitute a war crime, telling reporters that's just not something he's concerned about. Now, the president was asked, because this is all happening amid negotiations, which he actually says are going pretty well. He describes them as making progress in those negotiations between the U.S. and Iran. So he was really asked, are you looking to escalate with this conflict, or are you looking to make a deal and wrap this up shortly? Here's what he said about that.
So which is it? Are you winding this down, or are you escalating?
I can't tell you. I don't know. I can't tell you. Depends what they do. This is a critical period. They have a period of, well, till tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I gave them an extension. They asked for an extension of 7 days, right? They have till tomorrow. Now, we'll see what happens. I can tell you they're negotiating, we think, in good faith.
So the president clearly willing to take this conflict in either direction, either with a deal or to escalate with more U.S. military might. And really what he said at the start of this was that this rescue mission shows the power of the American military and the fact that the American military will not be leaving any men behind. I want to take you through a part of what he said about this rescue mission, because he says that U.S. forces did rescue the pilot fairly quickly, but then it was that second crew member, that second airman, that was really the concern, who was injured, who had to scale mountains deep within enemy territory and survive for nearly 48 hours as he waited for these rescue crews to arrive. President Trump revealing he ordered dozens of special ops forces with, he says, 155 American aircraft within Iran to execute this rescue mission. The CIA launching a deception campaign. We saw the director of the CIA talk about some of that to try and confuse these Iranian forces as they searched for this airman. I mean, altogether, it was an extremely risky mission. There were some injuries. Some of these aircraft were hit by enemy fire or then had to be destroyed by U.S. forces. But the president emphasizing no American service members were killed during this mission. And now he continues to threaten to escalate this conflict in the wake of this daring rescue. Hannah?
A lot to digest and break down. Hannah Brandt live at the White House. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.